Welcome guys. Today we're going to show you how to customize your archer's arrows. One of the things I like to do for my archer is to create a very unique arrow so when they're scoring their arrows at the target you can differentiate between your archer and the competitors. It is a very fun thing to do. What I normally recommend is to add an arrow wrap and custom colors of your archer's choice. It could be school color or just their favorite colors in general. One of the things that I had trouble with as a spectator was when looking down the range, could I see my archer's arrows? So for mine, I wanted to create something very bright and very colorful that parents and spectators, including my archer, could see from a distance of 15 meters. Some of the things that you will need to complete this project are arrow wraps. NASP has some general rules on the arrow wraps can typically usually be around 4 inches long. They make them in different colors. These happen to be boning that I've purchased from Lancaster Archery Supply. I have some yellow ones, some green ones. The other things you're going to need are fletchings or vanes, they're called. Now NASP has very specific rules on the size. Half-inch tall, 3.5 inches long. They come in many different colors, but they have to meet those specifications that NASP draws out in their rules. For my archer, I use these gold and green vanes. I use the gold color as the odd feather and the dark green as the other fletchings. One of the important parts of using an arrow wrap is it provides a adequate surface for the vane to adhere. Also, you're going to need a fletching jig. I happen to be using the Bitzenberger, which they say is the world's finest fletching tool. You can also purchase this at most archery supplies. I happen to purchase this from Lancaster Archery. You're going to need some vane adhesive. This happens to be an Easton product that's manufactured by the same manufacturer who makes the arrows. It's important to use a very good adhesive or sometimes the vanes will not stick. Just for reference, arrow wraps can come in many different colors and also zebra stripes, camouflage, anything like that. I chose the solid color because I think they look best. So don't hesitate to change any arrow that you want to customize it for the way you want it to look. Okay, so we have removed the previous vanes that were attached to these arrows, scraping it with a utility knife, and sanding it with real light sandpaper to get as much of the previous glue and adhesive off. The next step is we're going to take some isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol on a cotton swab, and we're going to clean the area really good so that we have maximum adhesion by the arrow wrap. One of the things you're going to need is, you'll notice the blue mouse pad. It's a very spongy material that we can use to press the arrow onto the wrap. It helps with better adhesion. Okay, now that we have the arrow cleaned, we are going to take out our wraps. As you can see, it's a lot like a sticker. It comes on a backing. There's usually 10 arrow wraps per package. We're basically going to remove the first one from the backing and place it color side down in front of the arrow. It is important to note that these are very sticky, and for optimal adhesion. We want to try to not get any fingerprints or any outside substances on the sticky part of the wrap. Place it color side down. Now that we've successfully got the wrap onto the mouse pad, we are going to try to align the end of the arrow just in front of the knock with the arrow wrap. So basically I'm placing the arrow in front of the wrap. I'm lining it with the edge of the arrow just in front of the knock, and I'm looking at the gap spacing between the wrap and the arrow. Once I have it set equally on both sides across the arrow, I'm going to press down and I'm going to roll it back onto the wrap. Nice and even, steady pressure onto the mouse pad. Just keep rolling so that that arrow wrap has successfully seated. As you can see here, I've got my helper, Maggie, our black lab. She likes to get involved in all of our outdoor activities. So I'm rolling it back, I'm rolling it forward. The vane is completely adhered. Not the vane. The arrow wrap. Now that we have completed our first arrow, we are going to grab our second one and make sure we have it clean with the rubbing alcohol. Basically taking the cotton swab and cleaning the surface area in which the arrow wrap will adhere to. So now we're going to grab our second arrow wrap, being very careful to try to pull it off of the backing paper, trying not to get fingerprints on the bottom. These things are very, very sticky. As you can see, it likes to stick to the very tip of my finger. But we're going to place it color side down on the mouse pad. And basically we're going to do the same thing. We're going to align the back of the arrow just below the knock. You can see the silver where the knock of the arrow plugs into, the difference between the black and the silver. I'm going to check my gap spacing between the arrow and the wrap, making sure that it's even all the way across. Then I'm going to press down and I'm going to roll back. As you can see here, I have a piece of the cotton swab stuck to the thing. I need to get off of there. Sorry about that. But anyways, we're going to check our gap spacing. We're going to press down and roll the arrow onto the wrap. One thing that's worth mentioning is the arrow wrap has a logo. I always try to put the logo of the arrow wrap on the bottom end of the arrow. Obviously, you want all 5 or all 6 or how many arrows you're making, you want them to match. So as you can see here, the logo for the boning arrow wrap is actually towards the bottom of the arrow, and I try to do that on all the arrows so that they all match. Okay, we have completed putting the arrow wraps on all 6 of these arrows. And one thing I like to also do to customize these, obviously you can see the green fluorescent green color wrap, is change the nocks. I don't think that the red nocks look too good with the green arrow wrap, so I'm going to replace the red nocks with the gold or yellow. Now NASP has pretty specific rules on what type of nocks that you can use with these Easton arrows, and they have to be the Easton in knock. They can't be any other ones. They have to be the in knock made by Easton. Those come in like 4 or 5 different colors. I think that the gold ones happen to look the best with this color arrow wrap, and they're very easily seen from a distance of 15 meters. So we're basically going to take off the red ones and we're going to install the gold color. They pull out. Sometimes you have to use a pair of pliers. And then you can just press the new nocks into the bottom, but you can see the difference in the colors here. So I'm going to finish up doing the rest of these, and I will come back when I have those done. So now that we have the rest of these yellow nocks or gold nocks installed, it's time to get out our fletching jig and start attaching some vanes. So the Bitzenberger, it comes in two parts. Basically the part that holds the arrow, and then it has the fletch jig. The fletch jig is kind of spring loaded. It's got two tabs. You squeeze and install the fletching. The first fletching you're going to do is what they call the cock feather or the odd feather. So basically it's installed in the fletching jig. I'm going to apply a thin bead of the vane adhesive along the entire surface. Being very careful, sometimes it's very hard to see, but you don't want to apply too much or too little. Now we're going to take the clamp and we're going to apply it to the jig. There's a magnet on the jig, so we're going to put the clamp on the magnet, press it down onto the arrow firmly, and we're going to allow the magnet to hold it in place for about 15 seconds. You don't want to leave it on there too long or too short. 15 seconds seems to be about the right amount of time. We're going to press the clamps, we're going to pull it off, and we're going to rotate the jig to the second position for the second vane. Now that we have the odd feather done, we're going to go ahead and take the cotton swab and wipe off any excess glue that might be present on the first odd vane that we put on. Now that the odd vane is done, we're going to use a different color for the next two. This particular arrow, we're going to use the gold. Our odd feather is white, or our odd vane is white, and the other two are going to be gold. It's going to be the same process. We're going to take the vane, install it in the clamp, and apply a thin bead of glue across the entire surface. Now that we have the glue spread evenly, we're going to apply the clamp to the magnet of the jig, press down on the arrow firmly, and again we're going to wait 15 seconds to give that ample amount of time to adhere. Now that we've given it enough time to cure, we're going to pull the clamp, pull it off, we're going to rotate the jig to the third position, and we're going to take the cotton swab, wipe off any excess glue that might be present, making sure we don't have big globs of glue that dry on the outside of the arrow. As you can see, I got a piece of the cotton swab stuck there, so I had to clean that off. Now we're going to take our last vane for this arrow, apply it in the clamp, install the glue evenly across the vane. Okay guys, you can see we've completed this first arrow. It is a very sharp looking arrow. It's very distinct, very unique. It's going to really stand out with your archer. I appreciate you guys following me around today. This is my first YouTube video. As you can see, we've completed the rest of the arrows. Thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe. More videos to come. Thank you.